What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there talk about comic books that have been adapted into streaming shows and movies. For weeks now, we have been covering Agatha All Along, which is streaming on Disney Plus, and we are up to episode 7 of the show.
Yes.
Brian, has your excitement for the show increased or waned or stayed about the same?
I think it's increased.
Yeah.
Like, I really like this show.
Yeah.
If you would, again, I say this every week in some way, but like, if you would have asked me about this before it started, I'd be like, yeah, I guess I'll watch it. But
Right.
I've really enjoyed it. Plain and simple.
Yeah. So, like, I think when we were talking about the actresses that are on the show, I mentioned Patti LuPone. I said that she was like this big kind of musical star. Did this episode that just passed, did it make you appreciate her more?
Hell yeah, she was excellent in this episode.
Yeah.
Yes, her acting of with her kind of like her time slips or gaps, whatever you want to call them, like was fantastic. And just that they really, it was a well written episode, like
Yes.
really well written. I feel like I don't say that often enough with these Disney shows.
Yes.
But like just the way the sequencing of it was really good. The acting was fantastic. It was just good.
I know I've asked you this before too, but which Mike Flanagan things have you seen? You saw Hill House, right?
Hill House, yes. God, is that it? I've probably seen some of the movies he's done. The earlier ones. What did he do? Like he's done something I've seen. I can't remember.
Like Hush and
Dr.
Sleep and.
No, I haven't seen Dr. Sleep. Okay, maybe I'm totally wrong.
No, it's okay. It's what about Oculus? Have you seen that one?
I think I've seen that. That's what I was thinking of. I think I've seen Oculus.
Okay. Well, one thing that Mike Flanagan has done, and this is just, because I have the channel The Lastercast with Danny, where, we talk about Mike Flanagan stuff a lot. He will do this thing where characters are like in different times, but they're kind of like jumping back and forth through different times. It happens in Midnight Mass, like especially with like the character of like the bent neck lady and this family. It kind of reminded me of Mike Flanagan stuff this episode.
Wait. Like, the bent neck lady is in Midnight Mass?
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
That was a legitimate question because I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of crossover somehow.
Yeah. Well, with his stuff, like there might be a character like in the background and stuff, and so I wouldn't be surprised if like a ghost from that show was in it. But no. It's just me talking like an idiot. She's just from The Haunting of Hill House.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but I like that kind of stuff where a character might be experiencing something in the present, and then all of a sudden they're in the past, and then like things make sense all of a sudden. Like, let me ask you this: have you ever seen the movie Arrival with Amy Adams?
No, I have not seen that. I would. Okay. It's on my list of things to watch that I just always forget about.
All right. Well, that movie is another case where it's like, okay, they're doing something in the present, then they might jump ahead to the future and back, but it's like they're kind of in this conversation with each other. So I like that mechanic, especially when it has some kind of like tragic ending, which of course it always seems to have.
Yes. I also greatly appreciate that the time slips have been happening the entire show.
Right.
And they've actually connected to the moments that we see in this episode.
Right. Yes, all of her dialogue where she sort of seems like she's suffering from dementia or something is because of what's going on in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to give a little context as to how this scenario happens?
I don't understand how it happens. I guess this is it just something that's her like magic power or something? Like she just as a like a teenager, she said she had the power, but she kind of like shut herself off from it.
Yeah.
And then I guess as she's nearing the end of her, I mean, this is the kind of the biggest question. She's nearing the end of the road or the end of her life, depending on how you want to look at it. Her power is kind of coming back forcibly, I suppose. And that's kind of what I glean from it. But is there another interpretation I'm missing?
No, I think you got it run on the head there. It's interesting, right? Because I saw a YouTube video that said that the Force is basically just magic now, and they had a picture of Harry Potter and a picture of Luke Skywalker next to each other, and it's funny because like Star Wars is owned by Disney, Marvel's owned by Disney, and I think that like they keep trying to put out this like homogenous stuff, and like you can watch a Star Wars show and kind of almost feel like you're watching one of these Marvel shows, just in different universes. And it's all this homogenous thing. And I think that like in general with this stuff, it's like the Force is this ability that we have, and now with like the Last Jedi and things like that, you can almost like turn off the Force, but it's like something you're born with, and you can like turn it off like Luke does. In Agatha all along, it's like they have these inherent witch abilities, and it seems like at least with two of the witches, they can like turn off their power too.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know. To me, like I always thought the Force was kind of different, and then like with Marvel and stuff, like mutants can't necessarily turn off their power, but with this magic in this show, it seems like you have it naturally, but you can kind of choose not to use it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it can also be taken away from you as well, which is generally, I guess that could happen to a mutant.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the black bald witch's name?
Jen.
Jen, thank you, sir. Good, yeah. I think that like Patty LuPone was almost implying, or Lilia, that's her name, was like implying that she turned off her powers versus like someone else turning it off for her. Did you get that vibe?
I think she turned it off because she said all she saw was death. So she just didn't want to deal with it, and she kind of turned away from magic in general, and that's when I guess she started just being like a fortune teller or medium sort of thing.
Right. For Lilia, she turned off her powers, but like I thought that Jen, yeah.
Oh no, she was bound. They said so her power was sealed in some fashion, but they haven't gone into a lot of detail about how.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the act of like reading the tarot and that kind of stuff, right? Like with the tarot cards, everything has significance, and they had Billy be the one whose tarot is being read, and then eventually like they had to figure out what like his purpose was. Why was he on the road, right? Did you like that, or do you think it should have been Agatha?
No, I think at this point it seems more fitting for it to be Billy, because that's kind of how this started, I guess. That he got his tarot read, he got that sigil placed on him there, and I imagine that had something to do with Billy's spirit going into him or something. I'm curious as to what would have happened. I'm curious what the sigil did. I know that Lilia saw the two paths, but did she enable it? Did she protect it in some way? I guess what I'm confused about with what the sigil actually did.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about like when there's fate or like prophecies, and I guess like also time travel as well, where it's like, would this have happened if the person that saw the future or knew about the future didn't do what they did? You know. I actually really liked that when they say, okay, what's your question? And he's sort of like on the spot. It's almost like gun to your head. He's on the spot. And he says, am I Billy or William? And I really liked that.
I was expecting, I did like that. I was expecting to say, is my brother alive or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's his goal, really.
Right. Do you think that like by the end of the show, he's going to have some kind of like transformation? And he's going to be like, I am Billy and William. Like he's going to do that?
Oh, I don't know. This is Disney. Could be a little cheesy, so maybe.
Yeah.
Although I hope not. It's a little cheesy.
Yeah. We get a little bit of the Salem 7. What do you think? I know you said they're creepy and kind of scary. What do you think of them in this episode?
I mean, they weren't as creepy in this episode. I think they were just kind of there, and then they got killed. In a dramatic fashion. I thought that was a cool little thing there and it wrapped in the tarot cards, which I don't really fully understand how those things work. But it was like, oh, the tower reversed or unreversed, and then they all get impaled. That was kind of cool looking.
Yeah. I have my theory as to how that worked, if you want me to ramble for like
Oh,
15
go for it.
seconds.
Yes.
I just think that like each building that they go to is like a little kind of like mini matrix, and it's like tapped into a specific person. And so this one, I guess, was tapped into Lilia, even though it didn't seem like that at first. And so, like, how she felt emotionally affected the room around her. And so she had that really cool moment. I thought it was a really cool moment for a Disney show where she's like, the tower reversed. And she like flipped the card, and then the tower went upside down. Like, I think that like it's just because she was connected to the room. Like, it was her test.
Got it. Yeah. I do want to point out that I think that the tower was reversed in the reading, and she like right sided it up or whatever. I don't know what word she used, but the symbol, she mentioned something about what that symbolized, when it's right side up, and I think that was kind of what it meant essentially, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay. Well, the tower is interesting too, right? Because every time they've gone to the house, it's kind of looked the same from the outside every time, right?
Yeah, you can tell it's just like the house is always far away because it's just really a background image, and then they're just at the doorstep. So it's just very similar sets, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it looked like a fucking fortress, like a medieval fortress this time.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And then it was like, I thought it was sort of Wizard of Oz themed, but it was just, I guess, sort of like medieval fantasy themed, because Agatha is the Wicked Witch of the West, and then Billy is Maleficent. I couldn't tell. Oh, like Lilia was like Glinda, I think.
Yeah, and then Jen was from whatever witch was from Snow White.
The Evil Queen.
Evil Queen, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that was just taking advantage of some corporate synergy. Really.
Right. So, okay, what the hell does the Wizard of Oz have to do with like fortune?
They're all famous witches. That's what it really is.
That's what it is. It's just like they're witches.
Yeah, it's all fictional, popular witches.
Okay. Fair enough. So what'd you like of the mechanic? Did you like the mechanic of like the swords falling down every time they would like place a card?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that like there are those tarot cards that involve swords. It makes sense. Most you think of witches, you generally do think of like a medieval setting, so it works.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what element this would be. Is this like considered metal? Because they've had like fire and water, right?
Water. This I don't know. I mean, I would think it's just the four main elements, really, but there has to be more trials than that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's metal. Who knows? But yeah, I like that the swords are falling, and I just think that like Catherine Hahn, her physical acting is so great. Like all of her, I mean, this goes for every single fucking character on the show. But like everything is super exaggerated and dramatic when they make their moves and stuff. Like when a sword falls, they'll like turn and be like this, like, oh, sword fell. And they'll be like, here's a card. Everything's like so dramatic. But I kind of love it. I think it just fits the show.
Yeah, I was really into this episode, honestly. And like I got a little like when they're all escaping through the Iron Maiden, and then you kind of like have the inkling like Lily is gonna stay behind. I was like legitimately moved by that. I don't know why. Like it actually got me.
Right. This show is doing something right where you care about these characters. Where I know we've said this already, so it's a little redundant, but it's like we see the trailer, we see these characters, and I just was like, oh God, like who cares? They're gonna be so annoying. Like I remember seeing the fucking trailer for this and being like, oh, I don't want to watch this. And now I'm like, oh God, please don't let Lillian die, Or like, yay, Jen's alive.
Yeah, I honestly had all those thoughts. Like, really, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And really, the only other thing to talk about, I think, is this that they finally do confirm who Aubrey Plaza is, and
yes.
We do briefly see her, but we see her in the past tense, right? Like we see her in one of the time slips, and we don't know what happens to her. And I guess we only have one more here, and I don't know how they're wrapping this all up at this point.
Well, hold on a second, because isn't this was episode 7, right?
7.
Isn't there supposed to be 9?
There's 9?
I think there's 9, yeah.
Oh, everything's
He's looking
usually
it up. He's looking it up. I think there's 8 of our other show that we're covering, if you guys want to check it out, which is The Penguin, which is fucking phenomenal. But he's looking it up.
I'm looking it up. It only tells you the number of current episodes here. Oh yeah, there is not. You're right. There's 9.
There you go. There you go.
It ends the day before Halloween. That's kind of cool.
That's perfect. And there's been no Wanda yet. But let's talk about Death for a second. So Death, I actually really liked when they showed Aubrey Plaza as Death, because she's just kind of in shadow and she like opens up her hands and this creep. Did she have like weird fucked up hands too?
I couldn't really tell the hands. I was so focused on the bottom half of her face. I was trying to see if there was like paint or that was like a prosthetic to be like more of a skull sort of thing. You can tell that her eyes are still there, like the top of her head and her eyes are still there, but like the bottom almost looked different. So I was mainly focused on that. But I don't know how they got away. I don't know how they got away from her.
Yeah, I like personally that she is like it's like Death is like an inevitability. And when Lillian is talking to, like, I think it's her mother that she's talking to when she's a kid, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think when she's talking to her, like, the mother's like, that's what we all have in common. We all have death in common. It's like this thing. And just the idea that, like, death comes for everyone. And I guess maybe witches might be one of the exceptional groups because they're able to, cheat their death or, like, put off death for, like, a really long time. Yeah. And that's maybe why Death is so interested in them too, right?
Yeah, I'd agree there. I mean, clearly, Lilia. I mean, that had to be hundreds of years ago. Flashback scenes like that wasn't modern day. That wasn't 70, 80 years ago. That was a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah, it looked like Renaissance Italy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the last question. Do you think in the future we're ever going to get any kind of like Thanos return thing where Thanos is interacting with Aubrey Plaza Death?
No, I don't think so. I feel like Thanos is really the realm of movies and this is a TV show. And I think a lot of the times they make the TV shows with the kind of lesser characters, I guess. It's weird to have the characters jump between TV and movies, I think. And the ones that start in the TV shows, I don't think as often jump to the movies as vice versa. So yeah. I feel like also the fact that I think the time with Thanos is done, although then again, we're coming up to Secret Wars and there may be a Battle World, and I'm sure there's going to be some opportunity to throw a Thanos cameo in there somewhere.
Yeah. Now you got me thinking, like, which characters have started on the Disney Plus and have gone into the movies. Kamala Khan, that's like the first one I think of.
Yeah, and then you can think of what, like, John Walker. He'll be in Thunderbolt soon. What else is there? I mean, no, Agatha hasn't been in a movie yet.
No, not yet. No.
And on the same spectrum as well.
Oh yeah. Right. She started in WandaVision. That's right. And then she's in the Marvels. Yeah. Interesting. That might be proving a point to Marvel that, like, you can't really bank on the Disney Plus shows generating excitement for the movies. Yeah,
I think the best shot they had was with WandaVision early on. Like, that had there was some hype around that because it was the first thing they were doing. It did have some bigger names in a TV show setting. It had a great concept. For comic nerds like us, it had that vibe of Tom King's Vision series, sort of. So that was exciting about it. But I think beyond that, nothing has really lived up to that excitement of that pre-excitement before WandaVision, I don't think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to it's really exciting when they announce these things happening. But then once you get to the point where you're like seeing trailers or stuff, you start to kind of just think, oh, this doesn't seem to be as big a deal as I'd like it to be.
Yes, I agree.
What a great note to end this episode on. Yeah. But the good thing is we get to talk about the Penguin next, which is this great transition from a movie to a streaming show. And probably Penguin will be back in the Batman 2 as well, I think.
Hopefully.
Unless he fucking dies in this show. But anyway, he's not going to die. But anyway, this has been our WandaVision episode 7 review. Brian now knows there's 9 episodes to go, so we got 2 more of this. We got a Venom Last Dance review coming up soon, and we also have, like I said, the Penguin. So, guys, if you like this little brief discussion, please like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Oh, I got